Hello and welcome to what I believe is episode 12. If it's not, don't quote me on it, don't hate me about it. I've already got at least 3 episodes wrong, I'm fairly sure. But I'm gonna go with episode 12. It feels like the right number, so we're gonna stick with it. And today I'm joined by Max, and I will get you to introduce yourself shortly. Believe it or not, I haven't even started on the mojito yet, and the speech is already struggling. So this can go
Am I
fantastically.
supposed to be here with a mojito?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you can, if you
Ah,
don't worry, if not, I've got mine. Normally I would cheers at this point, but if you don't have one to hand, I'll just
no, I've
have a
got
swig.
I've got water to cheers. That's it.
There we go. That's all right. I mean, with the amount of episodes I've been filming over the last few weeks, I'm beginning to wonder if doing these episodes over a mojito was wise. Day drinking has actually become part of my routine now professionally, which I'm not sure is
Day
great for the long run.
day drinking's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Cocktails, drinks, fucking love it. Sorry.
mate, I'm all for it. I mean, I'm sat in my own bar, so what what more can you
Lucky.
ask for? But before we dig into it, introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are, where you're from, and where they can find you. More importantly.
Hi. My name's Max. I'm a personal trainer, but I focus on working with people that have ADHD. From London, been here all my life, and you can find me at Max Smith Fitness across social platform. Yes, it is Max Smith Fitness across everything.
I'm glad it's not just me that does that, that knows exactly what my handle is. But the minute you say it, you go, "Is that it?" Hasn't
Is
changed for
that
years.
it?
I've said it.
Am I just gonna send someone somewhere and it says sorry, this page is unavailable or error 404 not found, and you're like, fuck. So yeah, that's a slight bit of
Excellent.
me.
Well, thanks for coming on, mate. It's going to be a great episode. I had Sophia on what would have been, I think it was episode 7. I think we had Sophia on. So
Follow nutrition.
yeah. So
Oh,
we
I love her. She's amazing. She has helped me so much with ADHD stuff as well. There's a story about her that I'll tell later. But yeah, she's fucking unreal.
yeah, it was a great episode as well. And we went really sort of deep into the psychology around disordered eating disorders, and how obviously being neurodivergent can massively hamper and impact that, and how a lot of
Mm.
people don't realize actually it is their neurodivergence that's perhaps playing a starring role in why they have flawed sort of relationships with food and what have you. And it's a great episode. But the reason why I wanted to get you on is again for me personally, I have ADHD. It impacts me in many ways that I've probably learned to live with. Whether they're ways that I should perhaps try to improve on and work on is yet to be decided. But I've managed to find a way of coping, if nothing else. But
Hmm.
what I absolutely love about you, my first real sort of exposure to you and what you do is at IFS, much like a lot of the people that have come on the podcast. And we were in
Yeah.
the business talk with James, and I remember you saying that you work exclusively with people who've got ADHD, and instantly I was like, this is somebody I need to speak to. Not even necessarily just because I have it myself and it creates challenges, but I just love the fact that that's the pot of people that you work with, because I think unless you have it, it's very hard to understand how it can impact. But actually, the that understanding of how things like ADHD can impact gives you such an advantage over everyday coaches who don't have the same daily battles that we do, and their minds don't
Yeah.
work in the way that ours do. And I think it really gives you the ability to not just help people and to structure things in a way that actually helps those who aren't neurodiverse, but also it's the fact that you're able to kind of almost get more out of them, and help them achieve so much more than
Mm.
if they were just kind of pigeonholed like everybody else. Because I think unless you have ADHD, hearing somebody say, I said one of the things I said to Sophia, I suffer with like food blindness. So if I know I'm hungry, I know I need to eat, but if I look at the cupboards and there's like too much choice, or there isn't something that jumps out that I'm like, yep, I'll do that. I can waste 2 hours thinking I need to make food, but not making food. And
Yeah.
if you're somebody who, and typically it ends up following a similar pattern, I then don't really have much. I'll snack for a little bit. My other half comes home, and because I haven't eaten, I'm like, we're getting a takeaway. uh, and
Standard.
the
Yeah.
yeah, and these kind of things, like to me, I now understand that that's part of my ADHD. But if I didn't
Mm.
realize that, it could make the process of trying to get in shape, trying to improve your diet, your nutrition, feel near impossible. And
Yeah.
it's a neurotypical coach who's never experienced this may just think that it's excuses when their clients like, I really struggle if I don't know what to have it, I make terrible choices. And actually,
Yeah.
I think the advantage that you have is because you get it and you work with people, that you've got the ability to actually provide the right kind of support for people that are affected by things like this. But I'm and I'm sure we're going to go into so many different things on this episode. I'm massively excited for it. But talk me through your journey. What kind of took you to where you are in terms of becoming a coach and deciding that you were going to specialize in working with people with ADHD?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just turned 29 now, and I think ever since I was like maybe 15, 16, I started to actually no, before that, I had an interest in fitness. I thought that jogging was what I needed to get a six pack, and
Excellent.
how wrong I was. And so, and I hated it because I remember going for a run where I lived and making it down the road, and the worst chafing. I didn't have like a pair of shorts, so I wore a pair of swimming trunks because they were the only like cool thing, and it was summer, and the nets were really fucking annoying me. Don't run in swimming trunks.
I'm assuming you mean
Um,
like shorts rather than like budgie smugglers.
yeah, no, I'm not a budgie. I'm not a budgie smuggler guy. And I thought, oh fuck, is this what I need to do to get fit? I had no idea about calorie deficits and surpluses and resistance training. I had no idea about any of that stuff, and I was never the sporty kid. I never, yeah, but it was something that I was always conscious of, and I was always conscious of how I looked. And then when I think it was when I was 16, I joined the gym with my brother actually, because he's a couple of years older than me, and he introduced me to it, and it was great, and I loved it. And I can't really remember. It's a bit hazy then, because then I moved from secondary school to university, and I started doing a lot more. And there was a time where I really focused on it hard during my time at uni. And so this was like 2014, 2015 kind of, fucking hell, that's 9, 10, 11 years ago.
Yes.
And yeah, I started to notice then people make comments about my body, and this was new to me. And back at secondary school, I was really heavily bullied, from primary school all the way up into secondary school. And so for once, having people actually like compliment me was a bit nice, but also a bit
Yeah.
odd. And I was like, and genetically, I've always just been lucky to, you know, all the guys in my family, we've all got big shoulders, we've all got, big arms, like we can just grow that part of our body super quickly. So
Yeah.
that's what's always kind of grown the quickest. And yeah, of course, you have, someone that you find attractive, and she's like, oh, look at those arms. I'm like, oh, thanks. And it sort of honed it, not just that, but I noticed how much more confident I felt in myself. And I used to have extremely bad social anxiety. On my way home from secondary school, this bus stop that I would get on at was the one before the all girls school. And at any time, I didn't care what year that they were in, if any girls from the girls school got on, I would like, my leg would start to shake, and I would just get really nervous, even though I didn't know them. It's just, that's how anxious I was. So to go
Yeah.
from that to then finding my voice quite literally, because I was able to speak more and not be so quiet. So those are like the early years, which I realize I've really dived into because I haven't really shared much of that before on social media. And then get to like uni, and this is where it's accelerated into me becoming a coach, because 2015, 2016, 2017, I was undiagnosed ADHD at this time, and I personally went to a music academy and wanted to pursue that as a career, being a session musician. So I didn't want to be like a rock star because I play guitars and you can see them in the background. But I wanted to play for other artists. But the music industry is hard. Like, I
Yeah.
know people who are very fucking good in the music industry, and I've watched them grow to where they are now. I just thought I don't have that in me. And also I'd experienced some things. I thought, oh, I don't want to be in the music industry anymore. I'd done some like tour work as a keyboard technician for one of the tutors that went to my that taught at my uni, and that was great. But it just gave me an insight. I was like, I don't want to do this. And so it was in that time I had odd jobs, like I worked at Apple for a couple of years, and that's where I really learned that I love solving issues, because I was that guy that you'd see if your phone or your iPad wasn't working at the
Yeah.
Genius Bar. But then I left that to then, join another job, which I tried for a year, got fired. That was 2017, 2018. Yeah, got fired. And I joined David Lloyd doing sales. 2, 3 months into that, I got fired. And
What were you
uh,
doing?
I couldn't sell. I was it loops back round to ADHD, because at this time I had no idea that I had ADHD.
Yeah.
And the first job that I got fired from, I wasn't right for it. I kept overlooking details. I just wasn't very punctual. I struggled because it was very data heavy and very it was smart home lighting control systems, or Lutron, if you know of them. And it wasn't working for Lutron. It was for a different company that did those systems, and it was just a lot. Then the sales job, I just couldn't sell. I just couldn't do the pushy sales tactics that they use. And actually, before I joined David Lloyd, I worked in a suit shop for about a month, quit halfway through one of my shifts because I just couldn't stand the management. And that's where I probably learned that I had an obedience issue. Like, I just can't take orders, which is
Yeah.
very... It sounds like I'm then a cunt, but I'm, it's just when someone's doing it a really snarky way, I just thought, oh, fuck this. So I left halfway.
Yeah.
But then when I was at David Lloyd, and during that time, I really honed in on my fitness more and more and more, and saw my confidence grow and grow and grow through fitness. And I was sharing all of this on Instagram, and Instagram stories, I think, had just come out at the time, about 2017, 2018. And so I was posting my journey, and I was starting to have people that I know say like, oh, hey, you look great. And, oh, what are you doing? And I was getting all these questions, and I thought, oh, I can't really answer these because I'm not qualified. What works for me works for me. It may not work for you. I don't want to tell you something that may not be right. And it was at working at David Lloyd, and while doing all of this, doing sales, I just loved being in that environment every day.
Yeah.
And sort of the combination of like getting fired from multiple jobs, and loving the industry, or like loving fitness, but also in combination with the comments I was getting on social media and asking me for advice, I thought, well, hold on, why don't I get qualified? Because, I love solving issues, which I learned when I was at Apple. I probably can't have a boss because I keep getting fired.
Yeah.
And I can help people. And so I remember one of the first times it really cemented it was a mate of mine. called Collar, who I've known for like 10 years now, and he's been one of my clients as well, but he's a friend first and foremost. And he's someone that I always looked up to. And he responded to my Instagram story one day saying, "Oh, I bought the same stuff because it was like chicken and like meal prep stuff
Yeah.
because I saw that's what you were having and I want to look more like you." And I was like, fuck, I'm an influencer. No, I just thought like, wow, someone has made like a conscious choice for their health and their fitness because they looked at me.
Yeah.
And so then that, yeah, all sort of cemented it. I then worked in retail whilst doing my PT qualification, qualified, started back in 2019, did the online thing, still do, but it was just general like fat loss coaching. And that was that until like 20, getting about a year ago. Yeah. Where I then, you know, I had the diagnosis in July 2023 that I have ADHD. And then a couple, like 8, 9 months after that, I started doing content about it. I just started saying, like, oh, if you have ADHD, you might notice. Because I thought to myself, well, if I've struggled with all of these things, excuse me, and I know now that the things that I've struggled with were because of ADHD and directly, sort of brought on by that, there's going to be other people that have the same struggles that I do. And being the solution finder and hungry to find solutions for issues, I've put my own systems or found different ways that work for me. As you said, you found ways that help you cope with stuff. And I thought, oh, why don't I share that with people?
Hmm.
And I did, and then things just took off. I wasn't. I don't want to say like, oh, I wasn't expecting it, because yes, you're hustling and you're grinding, and I hate those terms, but you're working to, help people. I just don't think I expected it at the rate of where it accelerated to happen so quickly.
Yeah.
And so that brings us up to present day, really. I've been doing that for the last year. But yeah, that's going back 10, 15 years, yeah. And a bit of my own, well, a lot of my history to where I'm now.
I love it, mate. I love it. And I think it's one of those, there's so much I think that people can resonate with that, particularly those who have got ADHD. One of the big struggles is, unless you absolutely love something, it's very hard to put your all into it. And I was very much like that when I was in my early 20s. I was really career driven. I wanted to get to the top that I could in the industry that I was in. I didn't necessarily love what I actually did, but I just loved the idea of getting as far as I could in my career, and I was really driven, and it was like all the time I was focused on it, it was fine. And then the minute I lost interest, you could have paid me £1 million a year and I would not have worked hard. And at first I thought maybe it was the issue that I had was with the company I was working for, because I got to a point where every time I overachieved, it became a battle to get paid the commission that I'd earned, because for whatever reason, it just felt like every time I did well, instead of getting told I did a good job, it was like I had to fucking argue my case to get what I was entitled to. So when I left and I ended up working for a competitor, initially I was like, this is going to be great. I can go in, I can just go back to enjoying what I'm doing. I can be really driven, reignite all my goals. And within like 2 or 3 weeks, I was like, do you know what? Don't really like this. And stuck it out for a while, as you do, because I was getting paid a stupid amount of money, to be honest with you. So it was kind of like I felt like I had to do it. But I fell into that trap. Anytime I was given any task that I didn't enjoy, I did everything I could not to do it. And then when I was at the point where I was potentially going to get tripped up on the fact that I hadn't done it, I either tried to do it as quickly as possible, or I deflected and tried to palm it off on whoever I could. And I now know that to be, again, ADHD tendencies, in that I just could not motivate myself to do the things that didn't stimulate me, that didn't interest me. And there was no amount of pressure from those above me that could have changed that. I remember a point at my the job that I was at for nearly 10 years, and I massively overachieved on a sales target. earned a phenomenal amount of money in the space of 1 month, and effectively got given like a demotion as a result because they were pissed off that they had to pay me so much and it all came in 1 month. Um, and they spun it up as a sideways move, and basically instead of being out selling to customers, they want to be in the office chasing like support renewals. And it was the most boring thing in the world, the most horrendously boring thing in the world, just having to ring endless customers. Have you seen your renewal? Yes, it's gone up. Do you want to renew? And that was it, like all the time.
Oh, I'd be
And
brain
it
dead.
got to, mate, I did it for like two or 3 days right at the start, and I was like, I fucking hate this. So I stopped doing it, and I just carried on trying to book meetings and sell. And I was just getting all this pressure. How are you getting on with your support renewals? And I was like, yeah, good,
Yeah.
great. And in the end, I had to like sweet talk a couple of people who were office based to get them to basically do it for me, because I was going to get in a lot of trouble.
Mm.
And even though knowing I was going to get in trouble for not doing it, I just still didn't want to do it. And there was no amount of pressure that was going to make me do it. And I think
No.
there's so many things that people perhaps when you haven't been diagnosed, and I'm still chasing my formal diagnosis. I'm 100% certain it's ADHD. There's no two ways about it. And there's so many aspects of my life which, having spent time obviously watching content from people like yourself and people who speak about neurodivergence in detail, I 100% know what the situation is. It's just fucking hard to get a diagnosis in this country. And
Yeah.
so we're still waiting for that. But there's so many things that at the time I just thought it's because it was boring, and like that was kind of it. And then you look back and you
Mm.
go, oh shit. And
It makes sense.
yeah, and there must be so many people in so many different walks of life who are going through exactly the same things that we went through. They're maybe going from job to job. They're finding
Hmm.
themselves forever frustrated because they want to do the things that they're being told they need to do, but they just can't for the life of them do it. And similar, there's probably people, bringing it back to fitness in general, who work with coaches who have every will and intention of dedicating themselves to getting in better shape, and they want to follow the advice and the guidance of their coach. They want to do a good job, and they just feel like at every opportunity they're subconsciously self-sabotaging.
Hmm.
And I genuinely believe now, understanding myself a bit better, and again having followed people like yourself and Sophia who speak about the challenges of having ADHD, you suddenly
Mm.
realize that there's so many people out there who are probably blaming themselves for trying to adhere to an approach that doesn't take into account the fact that they are not a neurotypical person. And
Yeah.
I think the industry in general, if we talk general population, general fat loss, the industry does so much bad in general in terms of sharing misinformation, in terms of encouraging people to do shit that they know they won't like from the outset. But I think it's only
Yeah.
exacerbated when you're dealing with somebody who doesn't think and respond and react to situations in the same way as a normal person would. And I think what you're doing is
Neurotypical.
absolutely yes, yeah,
I'm being a stickler, but it's when people, yeah, because I hear people with ADHD say, "I want to be normal," and I say, "Fuck normal. What is normal?
yeah,
There is no normal. It's just we're all a bit different.
yeah,
Um, I mean, I think I've seen some people say, not that there should and shouldn't be neurotypical and neurodivergent, but it's like, isn't everyone a bit neurodivergent? But that's another whole can of worms that is to be left for people far more intelligent than I. But I get what they're saying is that, neurodivergent doesn't just mean ADHD. It's the
yeah,
divergent, it's the whole diverging range, really,
yeah.
of neuroness. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, no, like what you were saying with trying to make things work for you with, being neurodivergent and taking things that have been given. I see a lot of people saying that, it's like it's a neurotypical world. We're trying to take neurotypical advice and neurotypical this and that and systems and whatnot and trying to fit it. It's like trying to, those kids' toys where you have like the square hole and the circle ball, and you try to put it in the wrong hole. Don't make that into an innuendo.
Too late.
Not innuendo. That's not even right. Oh, fuck it. But yeah, it's that kind of thing that we can try over and over and over and over again, and if we don't do it, we think then we're fucking up and that we're a failure. But that's where it's like you're not a failure because you're trying to do something that was never going to work for you. You
Yeah.
need to do it in a different way. I mean, I was trying to think of an analogy. Like, I don't know. My mind went to ADHD in action. You can see thoughts racing around. Imagine you have like a giraffe who can just like look at a tree and bite straight into the leaves at the top of the tree. Whereas if you were like a little mouse and you're going, how the fuck can I go and do that? And it gets so angry at itself because it can't reach the top like the giraffe can. It's like, well, you were never going to reach because you're completely different. The way you need to do it is that you're small, you can probably scurry up the side of it and then do it that way. You still get to the same bit, you just had to do things a little bit differently. If that analogy is as good as I think it is, then fuck, that's good. But I don't know. I'll let other people judge.
But no, I think that was good.
It's, that's sort of what it's like for people with ADHD. And when you don't know how ADHD affects your everyday life, it is really frustrating. But then the more and more and more you find out about ADHD, because it is so complex, it hopefully brings relief to people and go, oh, right, that's why I did things the way I struggled with things in that way. And here's what I can do now instead that's going to work for me.
Yeah. And I think that's the important thing, isn't it? It's not necessarily about just recognizing why things didn't work. It's about helping to then be able to spot the things that probably will, because if you're only ever recognizing the reasons for why something didn't work, but you're not then translating that into how you can take it forward into a positive action, it's kind of a redundant piece of information to collect. Other than you may look to not repeat that in the future, but if you're not utilizing it to help you narrow down what you should be doing, you potentially just put yourself into a constant position of ticking things off that don't work without actually finding any kind of solution. Which, again, to bring back to when I used to manage people, I used to fucking hate it when people come to me and be like, here's a list of things that are wrong with the systems we use, and I'm like, brilliant, that's great, so what do you want to do about it? Give me a list, give me some ideas on some solutions, otherwise you're just complaining. And it's a similar principle in this, in terms of it's great to recognize the things that don't work, but if you can't pull out of that what you can do differently and how you can adapt that to make it work, it can become difficult. And I think that's probably the important role that you play with a lot of your clients. Is it's very difficult when you're in that situation, particularly with ADHD. It's very difficult to accept when things don't necessarily work if you really wanted them to, particularly if you're worried that you're sort of self-sabotaging yourself beyond your own control. But it can also be difficult to see the wood for the trees, and to be able to recognize what you could do differently. Whereas when you've got that external person who can look at things objectively, who can look at things without the emotion, you're more likely to spot, actually, this didn't necessarily work, however these bits were quite good and you responded well to these bits, but this didn't quite hit the mark, so let's park that bit and let's hone in on these areas. And you're able to guide them and help your clients in a way that, again, like I said, somebody who hasn't got the experience of how ADHD can impact would probably struggle with, because I know for a fact that the way that my mind works, if I was working with a coach who I'm not working with a coach myself at the moment, but if I was working with a coach and they didn't understand ADHD, they would just think that I'm a fucking idiot full of laziness and excuses on the basis that
that's something that a few of my clients have said when they start working with me, like when we have like a call to begin with. I say to them, look, I just want to reassure you that I will never think that you're lazy. I would never assume that you are insert negative thing, that you just don't want it enough, that you're just not motivated enough, or whatever it may be. I say, I'm sorry if you've ever had to work with a coach that has said those things to you, because it's shit. When somebody, yeah, because as you said, someone who doesn't have ADHD can't ever really truly understand what it's like. You can understand it from like a, if you know about it, and you can understand it from, oh, I can imagine that would be challenging, but you're
Yeah,
never going to know like how that feels.
yeah,
It's
100%.
like when
It's
someone's
well,
going through a tough, sorry, go on.
I was going to say it's very similar to I had Paige Crossley on at the start of the week, and it's very similar to a lot of the clients I work with are women, and a lot of them are going through perimenopause, menopause. Now, I understand the subject. I understand what the symptoms are and the impacts, but I will
Yeah,
never empathize.
know
I
what
will
that's
never be able to
like.
actually know. Yeah, exactly. And it's very similar with this. You could be a very well skilled and well educated coach on the subject matter, but you'll never fully appreciate the frustration,
No,
just how it can impact, and the fact that you can wake up every day with every willing intention and desire to do the absolute best and tick all the right boxes, and before you know it, it's 4:30 in the afternoon and you've done absolutely fuck all, and you're just sat there going, I don't know where that day went. I have nothing to
time
show for it.
blind. Yeah, the time blindness thing. Oh, so fun fact, or not fun fact, but with my PT qualification, there was about 9, maybe 6 months where I'd started it and I'd gotten a few, a good amount of the modules, and then I just stopped. And like for 6 months, I just basically didn't open my laptop and didn't progress, even though I wanted to. And I know that's something that people without ADHD, I've had people go, but you love insert thing that you love, and you can't bring yourself to go do it. And it's like, no, because at times I can have the worst amount of motivation, and it's just, I can't even bring myself to do the things that I enjoy, the things that really bring me happiness and I'm really excited to do. I just can't bring myself to. And I know, sorry, it was more about time blindness, but I didn't realize that how much time had gone by
Mm.
until like I looked at my PT course thing and saw the last submitted essay or docu or like whatever it was. I was like, fuck, I that's ages ago.
Yeah.
And I could have been qualified so much quicker had I done it, but that I just started to get into this monotonous rut of plodding along, working in retail, going, yeah, I know it would be great if I got around to it. And I can't remember what hit me to finally just go, fuck it, do it. But yeah, the whole like getting to 3, 4 p.m. and you go, I was so motivated last night right before I went to bed. I put out my to-do list and everything, and where has the day gone? You can't actually picture where the day has gone. You just
Yeah. You just know that you didn't do anything with it.
you know that you didn't do. But even on the flip side, sometimes you do a shit bunch of stuff.
Just
Shitload, I
not the
suppose to
stuff that
say.
you needed to do.
Well, yeah, there's definitely that. But there's also like, if you don't keep track of your progress, like sometimes you can actually forget that you did those things, and you can feel like you didn't do much, but then you look back on the to-do list and you see everything crossed off and you go, oh yeah, I actually did do that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I felt that a bit today. I was like, what have I done? I was like, I really haven't done much. And then I remembered, no, you got up at 5:30. You went and trained a client. On that train journey, you finished an audio book Kindle the I listened to on the way there, on the way back. I finished editing a video which am doing with a brand. Got that all done. Got it all uploaded, not uploaded, but for them to review it. I was like, actually, that's quite a fucking lot. But I felt, before we got on this call, I was like, oh shit, I really haven't done much. I haven't done a social media post, and I haven't done this, and I haven't done that. But then it wasn't until I looked at my to-do list and I saw it all ticked off. Just thought, oh, yay, I have done stuff.
But it goes like that, and so often. And again, I think it's part of why, again, working with a coach who understands this, who experiences it, who lives it themselves, can really help. Because again, there are so many people that you probably work with who are making phenomenal progress, but don't necessarily see it because, again, whether it's time blindness, whether it's just they hone in on the bits that they still frustrate themselves with, that they're putting off or not doing, or or not quite achieving. And again, having somebody who can recognize these little triggers and can recognize these behavior traits and go, actually, by the way, I know you think you're not doing very well, but look at all this shit that you've achieved, is massive.
Yeah, that's something that I go on with my clients a lot, because it is one of those things to keep track of. It's it's another thing to, hey, sorry, can you open the app and tick this off and this off, and keep track of things. And I think as coaches, regardless ADHD or not, we've all faced the, do I have to do my progress pictures? Do I have to do this?
Yep.
And I always say, trust me, you will thank yourself that you've done them, or that you've marked this as complete, or tick these habits off, because there will be a version of you in a few weeks' time that looks back, and you will have a day where, because you are human, you will believe that you haven't made progress. But then when I show you the evidence that's the opposite of that, it will make you go, oh shit, oh fuck, okay, yeah, no, I have. Yeah, but that's I think coaching in general anyway, that's regardless of ADHD. I feel, I say I'm feeling rather than I know. I could imagine that maybe it's a mixture of like ADHD time blindness, that it can be easy for us to forget the accomplishments that we've had. But I think that's quite human anyway in general, to feel like, because we can get into our emotions. And there's an amazing book, and I recommend anyone to read. It's Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before, by Dr. Judy Smith. And I reference that book a lot with my clients now, because there are aspects of ADHD that can kick in, like the all or nothing mentality, where they have a day where one thing goes off, and then they feel like they need to hit the fuck it button and say nope to everything. I say, well, hold on, fuck the all or nothing mentality. We're now going to use the evidence to show you that you are actually making progress, and actually taking this one day out or whatever it may be is absolutely okay, and we don't need to do that, because that is a delicate kind of topic to navigate around. And reading that book really helped, because what I don't want to do is go into that situation, and when a client's telling me that they feel insert negative emotion about whatever it is they've done and they want to hit the fuck it button, I always allow them to feel the feelings that they're having and say, hey, look, I'm not here to invalidate your feelings. And the last thing that I want to do, because your feelings are valid, but we need to see them for what they are, which is that they are feelings. And your feelings, they're not facts. They're just beliefs, And so I try to help them as much as I can to separate their belief from the facts that actually, or their emotions, sorry, and then use that evidence, which is great with these sorts of fitness apps, not MyFitnessPal, but I mean like data that can show, like, hey, your step average has gone up by X amount, and as a result, look at your progress pictures. That's the data I'm talking about.
Mm.
And it helps them step away from that belief and then look at the facts and help, change their emotion a little bit, to combat the all or nothing mentality as well as other things. But yeah, typical ADHD fashion. I've gone off on one there and I can't remember what the main point was.
I do it all the time. Or you start
Uh-huh.
making a point and then you forget the end of it, and you're just
You start
stuck
making a
halfway
point,
through a
and you
sentence.
realize there's a nice little side road, and you think, I think that side road will come back to the main point, but then you realize you've just gone off another side road, and you go, oh fuck, where was the main road? I
Yeah.
can't remember where it was now. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I do it all the time, so you're in good company. I get one of
Thank
the
you.
questions that I do want to ask, and again, obviously, because you specialize in working with people who have ADHD, what would you say are the top two or three challenges that people struggle with? And again, that this might just help somebody recognize, actually, do you know what? Maybe I do have ADHD, or they maybe perhaps they have been diagnosed, but they don't recognize perhaps these challenges are as a result of their ADHD that could be, I guess, holding them back or causing frustration. And then the second point would be, how do you help people to address that? Big question. Sorry.
Yeah, so much. I've got a notepad out. So start from the top again. Sorry. So what are the main? Was it two to three?
Yeah, but yeah, sort of one or two, three, if there is a third sort of,
Mhm.
I guess, challenges that you see affect people with ADHD that kind of prevent them perhaps either making progress or seeing their progress, and then how you would help that, help address it.
Yeah, so there's okay, so there's two things that I'm going to focus on the most in terms of what do people with ADHD struggle with when it comes to their fitness and what I would do. Um, it's down to yeah, I'd say the main two that I see a lot is overwhelm and motivation.
Yeah.
So motivation, anyone can say, yeah, but everyone struggles with motivation. Correct. Yes, absolutely. But people with ADHD tend to struggle a lot because of just our lower levels of dopamine that we have, because dopamine is the thing that drives us for motivation. It's what makes us feel like, yeah, I'm going to get up out of bed and all that. And but if you then look at someone with ADHD who has a lower baseline, that's then when we struggle to do things that we enjoy. So I'm going to get to the motivation one after and start with overwhelm, which is fitness is so fucking big. There's so many choices. There's so much conflicting information. Do this, don't do that. That's going to kill you. No, it's not. Have the fucking cream egg. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So who the fuck do you believe? Because, you know, eh, for the vast majority of people, they just go, oh, I don't know who the fuck to fucking believe. What direction do I go in? And it's really overwhelming.
Mm.
And yes, that's overwhelming for everyone. And I find that for people with ADHD, we have this decision paralysis because it could also be to do with perfectionism that we can very commonly have, because we're thinking, right, there's so many choices. I don't know which one to choose, but I'm stuck in a state of paralysis because I want to make the right choice. I don't want to fuck it up. I want to, I want to get it perfect.
Yeah.
So, but then that person, and so people can just go, oh, you know what? No, no. And that combined with our lower levels of dopamine and therefore motivation, it can just be so easy for us to go, no, or let the all or nothing mentality kick in, going, right, I'm either going to dive into this and smash it, or I'm going to go, no, fuck this.
Yeah.
So with the overwhelm side of things, I mean, when people come to me, they kind of know already that they want to do some kind of resistance training. But actually, no, not here's what it is. They believe that they have to do resistance training, and they see PT. They think, oh, fitness. I want a bit of that. I want to make fitness. That's what I want to do. But I
Yeah.
fucking hate the gym. But I have ADHD. So that man who makes fitness, but also makes it ADHD related, I'll talk to him. And then I talk to them and they say, I fucking hate the gym and lifting weights. I say, okay, cool. And they think, oh, okay, so therefore your services are now, useless to me. And I said, well, no, actually, I can get you to do so many other things that you're going to enjoy. I have a client, and she has lost now. I think she's now gone over 30 kilos that she's lost with me through
Amazing.
just going for a walk. Obviously, nutrition as well, yes, but she hasn't done any gym sessions. She did like maybe one or two sessions to begin with, like at home body weight, that kind of thing. But she was like, nah, like not for me.
Yeah.
I was like, cool, don't worry, it's absolutely fine. And so we have now, yeah, been coming up to working together for a year, and she's lost, yeah, it's about 30 kilos now, and she is fucking incredible. And so the thing with that is, rather than letting us become overwhelmed with, oh, I don't like the gym, or I don't want to go into the gym, or oh, I don't, it was just right. Let's find something that you enjoy. And she lives in such a gorgeous area. Like, she sends pictures into the group chat with the rest of the community that I've built, and everyone just goes, "Fuck, these are like National Geographic photos. Like, they're unreal. Like, they're
Yeah.
so nice." And so, yeah, for that, it was finding something that she enjoys. And that is what I would say to anyone. Like, yes, you can become overwhelmed with how many options there are, but just ask yourself, what do you like? Like, what aligns with your values? That's
Yeah.
something actually that I took from Ben Carpenter's talk, who actually I think was the person that introduced us.
It was.
But yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was, yeah, because
Yeah.
yeah. And what he said is, find something that's concordant with your values. And that really stood out, because I was like, yeah, if you can do it, it's that typical thing of, the man who enjoys the journey will walk further than the man who just likes the destination. Something like
Yeah.
that. If you enjoy
Yeah.
it, you're going to carry it on. So with overwhelm, that, but also whatever it may be that you do want to do, because I have also highlighted the fact that for us with ADHD, we can struggle to do the things that we enjoy. Break it down into its most simple and next actionable step possible. So if you want to develop the habit of going for a walk, for example, okay, if a client says to me, oh, I really want to go for a walk, but I really struggle. I just really struggle. I get home from work, I lay on the sofa, and I don't want to do it. I just do not want to, excuse me, I don't want to head out. I'll just ask them, what's the next actionable step that you can do? They go, and they get my clothes on that I would wear to go outside. I'm like, cool, then do that. And I go, but
Yeah.
what if I don't make it outside? I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if you don't make it outside, because that's already one step more than what you did yesterday. So if you can do
Yeah.
that, brilliant. Then what's the next actionable step after that? I would need to grab my keys and my headphones. Cool. Then do that. If you can't, it's okay. If you can, great. Build it up bit by bit. And if you need to write it out and have it clearly, there's no shame in that. I think people think that there's an embarrassment of something so simple. I've got to have it later. I have on my desk here, let me peel it up. My morning routine written down. I don't know if that's focusing, but it says
It's
1,
not.
brush teeth, 2, splash face, 3, make bed, and then 4, which I already know is just to head outside, which that is a morning routine that I learned from TJ Power, who's just released this book. And I have no shame in having a really simple instructional list on my table, say, do this, do this, do this, do this. So make it really clear. Oh, so it's just my computer tells me what time it is on the hour every hour. Helps with time blindness. ADHD accessibility feature. Um, so sorry, I know I've really gone on this one, but hey, if you've tuned in for an ADHD podcast, we ramble. So yeah, overwhelm, break it down into his next most actionable step. Find something that you really enjoy, and yeah, try and break that down into its smallest step that you can then actively do. If you need to have it clearly written out on like a sheet of paper or some post-it notes, do it, because you need to make it more obvious, because there will be things, because of the 1,000 thoughts that we have every single day, things will slip your mind. Have it written out, have it clear, so that you can then go, oh wait, yeah, shit, do it. And then the more and more and more that you do it, you know, that will help build that habit. Because just get the reps in, you know, do as many as you can. I struggled with the morning routine, but now I don't touch my phone for the first half hour to hour of the day. It sucked at first, but now it's really enjoyable. My brain, again, learned that all from this book. Anyway, motivation. That's the next thing that people with ADHD really, really struggle with, because again, baseline dopamine levels not as high. So with my program called the ADHD method, we have a bunch of pillars. The first one's clarity. It's just bringing focus to the goal and see like what general direction is it that we want to head in. And then the second one is movement. And it's because what I want to do with people is just getting them ticking things off and getting that movement going, because something I used to focus on a while ago before it became the ADHD method was getting people to focus on their nutrition. And I would actually put the movement second. And that was because I knew that nutrition would have the biggest sort of like return on investment, I guess. I know
Yeah.
as PTs, we're going to go, oh, but nutrition, you can't out train a bad diet, you know, all that sort of stuff. So I think, but nutrition is going to get them quicker. So I'd rather get them to focus on that. But then as time went on, I kind of realized like, well, actually, no, now for people with ADHD, one of the most important things is just getting that motivation up. And when you
Yeah.
feel like you're actively doing something, like just going for a walk, that's an actionable step. Telling someone just to watch their nutrition for the week and just make a log of, you know, or like just take photos so I can have a look and see what your current eating habits are like, they don't really feel like they're doing much. So they're not going to be building that motivation and therefore, you know, building that dopamine. Sorry. So what I recommend is, with that overwhelm, looking at what you enjoy, get your body moving in whatever way feels comfortable to you. But also what doesn't feel comfortable. You know, if something doesn't feel comfortable, good. You know, you're going to be building up more dopamine doing those. Yeah, it's why people love cold dips, for example. You know, the studies are, I haven't got the notes offhand here, but you know, the studies that they've done with how much the dopamine increases after like a cold dip. But it's why now in the morning when I wake up, again, all learned from this book, The Dose Effect, by TJ Power. It's just come out today, actually. Well, when we're recording this.
Yeah.
I wake up and I go out the door, like within
Yeah.
10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe, I'm out the door, because I know it's really uncomfortable, but I think of it as like a little, like, you know, you can play Mario Kart and you got that little strip and you drive on it and it speeds you up.
Yeah.
That's what it's like for my energy. I wake up, and because I get up and make myself feel a little bit uncomfortable, my body's going, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. But my brain is just, I get back home and I'm so much more motivated. Because yeah, I used to be that night owl, staying awake until 4, 5, sometimes 6 o'clock in the morning. Now I'm that cunt that wakes up at 5:30 in the morning every day,
Yeah.
splashes his face with water, washes his face, building that dopamine, and therefore feeling more motivated. So long answer to a very short question. Find what you enjoy that's concordant with your values, break it down into its next actionable step, Then with motivation, get your body moving and tick it
Yeah.
off. Mark your progress. Don't let time blindness or anything like that get in the way and make you forget about the things that you have done. Actually have something that makes you go, fuck yeah, I actually did that thing.
Yeah, 100%. And I love that. I think that's really, really powerful stuff. And again, the nice thing about it is it really taps into a lot of like my core values that I have with my clients, and I don't specialize in working with people with ADHD, and that's that, the foundation of what you do should be enjoyment.
Mm.
At the end of it, and I think it's a commodity that gets overlooked because the fitness industry is full of fads and trends and whatever seems sexiest and most popular or can get the most amount of engagement on social media. People forget the most important
Seems
thing.
sexist. Or do you?
Sexy.
Oh, I thought you said sexist. I was like, what?
No, I definitely didn't
I was
say
like,
that.
yeah,
But
if it's misogynistic in any kind of way, then no, I shouldn't even
people
say
love
that
it.
because someone will like clip that and just see me like, yeah, if it's
Yeah.
misogynistic, fucking yes, no, no.
No,
Oh,
but ultimately, like the industry is very. It's all about quick fix. It's all about It's not about delayed gratification. It's not about creating behaviors and patterns and stuff that pays off for the long run. It's about who can achieve the fastest result in the quickest
it's
amount of time. And I
yeah,
think that leads people to end up doing stuff that they fucking hate. And I think when you're not neurotypical, it can be even harder to kind of take that step back and go, why am I doing this? Like, I don't even enjoy it. And that, like you
yeah.
said, that point of finding something you like and doing that and focusing on the next actionable step can be the difference between feeling like you're a constant failure, like it's an impossible and an insurmountable hill to climb, and actually this is something I can do, and this is achievable, and I absolutely love that. I think is a
Oh,
big
I've got a swap.
takeaway for this.
Wait.
Y- y- You're
Oh, I can
back.
hear you. Yeah, sorry. Carry on.
No, I was just saying. So I think those bits of advice they can be the biggest difference between for someone who is neurodivergent and perhaps suffers massively with overwhelm and the inability to take action. Just being able to take that step back and go, I'm just going to do the one thing that I like, and if that feels too much, I'm going to do the next action that moves me towards it. A phrase that I always use and used on the episode with Oshin that he's run with since is 1 mile an hour in the correct direction is always better than 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. And I think
Oh, I
the
like that.
the point that you made there is exactly that. You don't have to do the whole thing. You don't have to do the whole
No,
journey. You don't have to do if your goal is to go to the gym, you don't have to go to the gym. Um, Sometimes
no.
it's getting to the car park is the next actionable step.
Well, a lot of that is like from Atomic Habits, which I think everyone has read over. It's like the most looked at book for productivity and habits, and yeah, it's breaking down to its next actionable step. And I was just writing down some notes here, actually, of some books that I've read recently, which I would recommend anyone to read, but especially people with ADHD to read. Now, to anyone who goes, Max, ADHD reading doesn't fucking work. Now, authors will love me because I buy every book twice because I have to get the text version and I also get the audiobook version. And I listen and I
Yeah,
read at the same time because if I'm listening to an audiobook, I have to be doing something. I can't just lay there because otherwise I'll get bored. But then there's something that will be said. I'm like, oh, I want that written down. I want to refer to that later on. But then I'm so reading and listening combines. I can be physically. It's why I've got a Kindle over there thing. So I'll listen and read it anyway. But some books that I've read where I got a lot of these, one Atomic Habits by James Clear. Another one is Feel Good Productivity by Ali Abdal. He's a YouTuber. who does a lot on productivity. He was at IFS actually year before, like 2023. I love his content. I've just finished today Slow Productivity by Cal Newport,
Mm.
who he has another famous book called Digital Minimalism, which I haven't yet read, but something that really stood out in the Slow Productivity book was a story that he mentioned about Jane Austen, the author, who, you know, she did like Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. And it's like we look at these collections, these bodies of work, and go, "Oh my god, you know, it's amazing." You know, is that someone at my front door? Got some packages that I'm expecting. So one one second. I can't tell if they're at my door or not. No, I don't think so. Anyway, the thing with Jane Austen was that she, when writing these books, I can't remember what it is that she actually did outside of. I'm actually just trying to find it here. It's worth it, trust me. Oh yeah, so yeah, Jane Austen was glad that a hinge creaked. So basically, what Jane Austen did was that between any small gap of time that she had, she would then start to write, and she kind of did it in secret. And it says here, Jane Austen was glad that a hinge creaked so that she might hide her manuscript before anyone came in. There was a door like leading up to the room that she was working in. It had like a really loud creak, and she never wanted to fix it because she wanted to write in private. And that creak allowed her to know that someone was coming in, so she can then hide it. But basically, the works that she did was like over a long period of time, but it was always the smallest gaps of time that put together all these things. And even it mentioned about Isaac Newton, and you know, everyone knows about like the apple falling from the tree, etc. It's actually, I think, if I remember correctly, and annoying, I don't have the highlights. I haven't synced them from my readwise. It was to basically it took like 20 years for him to put all of these things together. And I think it's similar to Jane Austen. It's like we look at them as completed work, and if you were with them day to day, you think that they're being quite unproductive and they're being
Mm.
really slow. It's only the perspective of time that actually shifts, you know, to see that they actually only did bits here and there to then put this thing that's amazing. Where I'm going with this and how this relates is it has helped me shift away from my all or nothing mentality, in that I used to think, oh, I've got to wait for the perfect, oh, you know, there's no point starting to edit that video or go for that walk because I've only got 2 minutes. What is the point if I, but now I take that time. If I've got those 2 minutes, I will try and push myself to go, you know what? Yeah, okay, cool. I will just open a note on my phone and start to script a video. I don't care if I just get the title of it and I just get the hook written. That's still 2 minutes more than I did. And I do the same with my clients and walking. I say, hey, if you pop something in the air fryer and you put it on for 10 minutes and then you kind of sat there for a couple of minutes and you can see it's got 5 left, just head out the door for a couple of minutes and head back and they go, but it's only a couple of minutes. I'm like, yeah, but it's 2 to 5 minutes more than what you did yesterday. If you do that for 5 minutes, sorry, if you do that on each of the work days, that could be 10 to 20 minutes extra. And then if you equate like 10 minutes is about 1,000 steps, depending on your pace, but it's about that. That could be 1,000 to 2,000 steps extra than what you did last week. If you do that for a month, that could be like what? Wow, no, math bad, 8 to 16,000 steps more than you did the previous month.
Yeah.
So yeah, point of all of this, take the smallest amount of time that you can, and if you can just do it for that tiniest bit, great. Again, using the other things that I mentioned, like breaking it down to its next actionable step. I mean, there's lots of things which I know we don't have the time to cover. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Well, I
stop
think,
now.
mate, I actually think that's a really good place to end on. I think it's really powerful, and I think it really emphasizes just again that all or nothing mindset, being able to break that down, being able to create an environment for you as an individual to thrive where you play to your own strengths. We know, attention span, the ability to and desire and the motivation to do things can all be really against you if you are someone who suffers with ADHD. So being able to break it down and go, do you know what, I'm not going to try and do everything all at once. I'm just going to do the little bit that I've got time for, and if that stacks up over time, you can make significant progress. And I think that's a really good place to end it. And again, just as a shameless plug, that's basically how I wrote my book, which I put out
Nice.
a year ago. Was literally every 2 weeks I had an hour before going to the barbers, so I'd sit in a coffee shop and write for an hour.
There you go.
And it took me like 2 years to write it, and I probably could have done it much quicker, but you get it done because you don't try and write the whole thing at once. You just go, right, I've got a spot of time, I'm going to get done what I can in that time.
But from my perspective on that, I see that as a completed body of work. But
Yeah.
to you, you lived through those and saw actually how far away it was all spread, and actually, yeah, how long it does. It's just small little chunks. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's doing the smallest bits over just a prolonged period of time, and it will add up. But
Yeah.
that's perspective of time.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's been absolutely awesome. I think we've covered so much,
Oh,
probably
thank you.
loads more stuff than I even expected to. We'll definitely get you on again, because there's probably still
Thank
loads
you.
of things that we haven't touched upon. But before we disappear off, just let everybody know where they can find you, if they don't already follow you. Where can they get you?
Yeah, so Instagram, YouTube is starting up soon. I've got an idea for I was about to say first video. I've actually already done one, but I now look at it and go, shit. So yeah, YouTube, Instagram, all of it is Max Smith Fitness. And yeah, it's all very heavy to do with ADHD and fitness, but also just ADHD awareness in general.
Amazing, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on, sharing your insight,
Thanks.
your wisdom, and yeah, thanks for everyone for listening. Obviously, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And we will see you on the next episode.